This is the K.Asian Beauty. It stands about 604 feet long, almost the size of 2 football fields, and about 100 feet wide. This behemoth is truly built to move thousands of cars across continents. Its width helps balance the ship's length and height, which stands as high as a 12-story building above the waterline. Safe to say, it's huge. It was built in 1994 and uses a manned B&W Model 6L60 MC engine manufactured by MAN Energy Solutions with an optimum output of 10,500 kilowatts, or about 14,000 horsepower, which is pretty powerful yet necessary for a huge cargo ship of its size. Though not a lot of information about the K.Asian Beauty is publicly available, we can speculate that like most ships of its class and age, it should also have the same or similar features like ballast tanks or dynamic positioning systems, which help maintain its position during an incredibly pivotal moment: docking. When the K.Asian Beauty enters the San Diego harbor after a 2-week journey from South Korea, it begins a docking process that runs the saying, "It takes a village" true. Unlike docking a canoe or even a yacht with a simple pole or anchor, this ship is on a whole other level. And what sets it apart is its use of smaller boats in the docking process. Yep, you heard that right, specifically tugboats. They carefully push and pull the ship into position and make sure that it aligns perfectly with the berth. Not only is the berth equipped with fenders, which are large cushion barriers that prevent damage to the hull, but they're designed to absorb the ship's momentum. Its docking is a precise process that involves multiple steps and coordination. Harbor pilots, experts in navigating these waters, guide the ship through the final approach, and all this happens simultaneously while taking into account factors like tide levels, wind speed, and direction. But it doesn't stop there. The ship's mooring lines are then secured to bollards. You know, those short, sturdy posts you could find in Navy Pier, Chicago. They hold the line steady, making sure there's no heavy movements due to waves. This is very important when dealing with a 20,000-ton ship like the K.Asian Beauty that's carrying almost 7,000 units of cargo. It's a literal floating garage. The ship has up to 13 decks, some fixed and others adjustable. You'd need different spaces to store a Ferrari versus a pickup truck, right? Basically, the adjustable decks can be repositioned to accommodate taller vehicles or cargo. With all these pieces of the puzzle moving at the same time, it's easy to imagine how complicated managing such a ship can be. If even one of those cars were unstable and not secured properly, can you imagine it capsizing because it's off balance? And of course, there's always the quality control guy that has to meticulously inspect your goods and check for contraband. In this case, that's border control. You see, the moment the K.Asian Beauty docks, border control teams swarm like flies with one very specific job, and that's to verify every detail of the incoming ship and its cargo. The first thing they do is take a look at the ship's documents and manifest. These provide a detailed record of the cargo on board, including the number of vehicles, their descriptions, and any other items being transported. Then they cross-check those manifests with the cargo in a physical walkthrough from the decks where the cars are parked to the compartments that hold the other equipment. And if they find something is off, they blow the whistle and flag the item for further investigation. Like the Hugh Transporter incident in 2015, when Kenyan authorities discovered firearms and drugs hidden inside the tires of 3 military vehicles being transported by a Norwegian-flagged carrier ship. The Border Patrol teams are determined to not let anything slip by, and this isn't limited to cargo alone. It isn't uncommon for unidentified individuals to slip onto cargo ships posing as crew or for them to be held on board against their will. Because of this, immigration authorities must make sure that every member on board has all their proper documentation and that labor laws are being strictly followed in compliance with the International Labor Organization's Maritime Labor Convention. There's the environmental checks as well. After all, the last thing we'd want is an irresponsible crew dumping waste into the oceans. These checks make sure that the ship's operations have little to no impact on the local ecosystem. One of these key areas of focus is the ship's fuel tanks. Inspectors check for potential leaks, that tanks are sealed properly, and that its systems are working without fault. The ship is also equipped with systems to handle sewage, garbage, and other waste accumulated during trips that must comply with international regulations like MARPOL Annex 4, which oversees the disposal of waste at sea. For example, ships must have approved sewage treatment plants or holding tanks to store waste. Another important area the Border Control inspects is the ship's ballast water management. In case you didn't know, a ballast system helps the ship maintain stability, balance, and safe navigation. It's usually made up of tanks located at the bottom of the ship and can be filled with seawater or ballast water, if you will, or it could be emptied to keep the ship in balance. This goes beyond just when the ship is in motion, because even while unloading and offloading vehicles, it could need to take in or release additional ballast water to replace the weight of the cargo being added or removed. It goes without saying that something that alters the very center of the ship's gravity needs to be closely watched, and that's where the ballast water management comes in. You see, even though ballast water is important for ship operations, it could cause significant environmental risks. Remember the Asian green crabs in European waters or the zebra mussels in North America? The number one reason is ballast water can carry invasive marine species and pathogens from one region to another, causing ecological harm. To prevent this from happening, mariners must follow strict international guidelines as well as local laws when conducting ballasting operations. Finally, after the inspections are complete, documents are approved and the Border Patrol officers give the ship the green light, it's now time to deal with the thousands of cars waiting patiently on their decks. And like everything else on this ship, it's a bit of a complex process. Loading cars onto the K.Asian Beauty can simply be described as an art form. The decks are each designed to hold specific vehicle types based on weight and size, and they're not loaded randomly. Before we break down that part of the process, we start long before the cargo even reaches the ship, and that is with the logistics team. Logistics teams carefully plan where each vehicle will go, and this can't be done without considering several factors, like vehicle height, for instance. Taller SUVs need more vertical space and are often put in the higher decks to accommodate. In contrast, the smaller sedans or compact cars can be put in the lower decks with tighter vertical limits. But the height and weight of the cars go hand in hand to making sure the loading runs smoothly, which leads us to the next important factor of weight distribution. To maintain the ship's balance and stability during its trip, it is important that there is even weight distribution from the port to the starboard to the stern. Heavier vehicles like trucks or electric cars with large batteries are put towards the center of the ship where they can have the least impact on stability and avoids the ship from leaning to one side or pitching, which, if you don't know, means front-to-back rocking. This is especially an issue in rough waters. There are other factors like the vehicle's port destinations, where cars that are getting off sooner are placed closer to the ramp, and vice versa. Loading ramps connect the ship's decks, allowing cars to drive up and down between the decks. Though they're designed to handle the weight of heavy traffic, drivers must carefully weave through tight spaces and park the vehicles with only inches to spare, a real test to their driving skills. Now, a key aspect of this entire operation is time management. Each ship has a tight schedule that they need to follow, because delays in loading or unloading can mess with entire supply chains. So there has to be smooth coordination between logistical teams, dock workers, and the drivers. The loading ramp can support weights of up to 150 tons, allowing it to hold large buses or even construction machinery. The ramps are wide enough to allow cars to drive directly onto the ship and off the ship. Once the vehicles are loaded, they need to be secured. Though again, the specifics are not publicly shared, but given that the ship is easily exposed to rough waters, bad weather, vibrations, and potential tilting, the crew must make sure nothing moves. Wheel chocks, which are wedge-shaped blocks that prevent the wheel from rolling forward or backward, are made from durable materials like high-density rubber or heavy-duty plastic. They are put snug against the tires and could also be bolted to the ship's deck for additional security. There are lashing straps that anchor the vehicle and prevent side-to-side or up-and-down movement. They're connected to lashing points on the vehicle like hooks or axles, and are strapped to deck-mounted lash rings or D-rings welded into the floor. For heavier vehicles, chains are sometimes used. They're hooked to reinforcement points on the vehicle and deck, and turnbuckles or tensioners are then used to secure and tighten the chains. The ship's decks itself are treated with anti-slip coatings that give extra grip, especially on the sloped ramps between decks. The decks even have advanced ventilation systems that circulate the air and prevent the buildup of harmful exhaust gases from the vehicles during loading and unloading. Fire detection and suppression systems, including CO2 and sprinklers, are installed on all decks to handle any fires that may break out from vehicle fuel or electrical systems. But what happens if something goes wrong? Even after all of these steps are taken, a single miscalculation during loading or uneven cargo distribution could be the difference between a standing ship and a capsized one. And there was one ship that turned into such a tragedy. The MV Golden Ray was a massive car carrier capable of transporting over 4,000 vehicles. It capsized in September 2019 while leaving the port of Brunswick in Georgia and became one of the most expensive environmental threats in maritime history. The wreck was caused by a combination of incorrect ballast adjustments and uneven cargo distribution, leaving the ship stranded in St. Simons Sound. The accident caused an uproar and a fear for the native ecosystems surrounding the site. Since the ship's 24 tanks of fuel were pretty much fuel and all the vehicles used liquids like engine oil and coolant, the risk of a spill was high. Salvage crews began work on the MV Golden Ray using the VB-10,000, a huge twin-crane heavy lift machine, to cut the ship into 8 massive sections using a diamond-encrusted chain. And not the kind you'd find in your grandmother's jewelry box. Each section weighed thousands of tons and was lifted onto barges for removal. But dismantling each section could not be done willy-nilly and had to be carefully planned out. This is because the intense heat from the cutting torches used could inadvertently start a fire from the various fumes and fluids that now filled the ship. This would turn an already bad situation into a potential disaster. Then 2 years and over $1 billion later, the operation concluded successfully. The lessons learned from the Golden Ray's capsizing were not only that proper ballast management could make or break a ship, literally, it also increased measures to triple-check cargo securing, the importance of safety protocols, and ensuring fire-resistant equipment and suppression systems were the standard. Bye for now.